Living on that pockets on flow with the guy blowing around 9 dudes Cadillac. Still got my homies to watch my back and the smoke your ass. And when I come jack, that's why some pigs and the kids come sweating. They follow hollow point shills hard to swallow. Why wallow when they come to roll on it with the clip in the wolf? I break your head sign. Not kicking dust cause they get bust. My crib surrounded, I'm about to get rushed. I brush with that. How many shells left in my closet? Where my bag full makes black when the shit goes down. Better be ready. When the shit goes down. When the shit goes down. You better be ready. When the shit goes down. When the shit goes down. You better be ready. When the shit goes down. When the shit goes down. You better be ready. You better be ready. I told the boys to side out Glocks and the rest of the gases I strap on the bulletproof vest. I think I got one to that test. Hot damn, I didn't want to kill a man. Cheers, still stand tall with the Hill Clan. Y'all, you better step back. You better fall. I'm coming up blasting like a Simony Sam. I got the cheese and the bread for the ham. Shit goes down. You better be ready. When the shit goes down. When the shit goes down. You better be ready. When the shit goes down. When the shit goes down. You better be ready. When the shit goes down. When the shit goes down. Say, better be ready. Yeah. That's it, I'm done.
The following show features stupid opinions and ideas from two idiot brothers who probably did little research and practiced zero due diligence on the topic at hand. The MLO Bros opinions do not reflect the views of their employer, guests, sponsors, families, neighbors, or pets. If you do not like what they are saying and don't agree with their views or opinions, don't watch the show. We can promise we do not care. Welcome to the worst show on the internet.
We are live from
everyone.
Riff Raff Studio with Fire Chief Chip. Can we say Fire Chief Chip?
You can. Fire Chief Chip.
Fire Chief Chip.
I had somebody at the gym today say, "Are you guys trying to fire Chief Chip and Chief Comstock?" We're like, "What?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "No, you say fire Chief Comstock. So I think you're trying to run him out of town." I'm like, "No, we're not trying to run him out of town. He's the fire chief."
You guys know. Others maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean,
He's the fire chief. We're not trying to get him fired. He's the fire chief.
Like fire hashtag Fire
Yeah,
Chief.
we're trying to run him. No, we're not trying to run him out of town.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So, hi Sally. Before we get started, real fast, our party Chip is 2 days away. Hopefully you don't have to bring any. You don't go to Boardman, right?
No, you're in the safe.
We're saying, yeah, we might have to have you come to Boardman because they don't have enough ambulances. We've learned, or do they? They do. Okay, we'll talk about that. Check this thing out. So we're gonna have bingo at our Halloween party. We want to say thank you to Stacy Willis. She made Sippables and Sweets. You can see it on Facebook. Check this out real fast. I'm gonna throw this up
There's
there.
a giant chocolate skull in this thing, I think.
Check it out. She watches our show all the time. We were gonna make something, and I said I was gonna make something with hot milk, but we don't have a microwave. I totally forgot.
Yeah, we were gonna do hot chocolate tonight for all of us, but because she makes hot chocolate bombs, boozy bombs. She gave us a couple boozy bombs, peanut butter screwball, hot chocolate bomb, which is awesome. We were gonna try that. Chocolate covered pretzels. I think this is chocolate covered Oreo.
All kinds.
Look
of
at
stuff.
that eyeball.
So this baby's going on our.
Oh, it actually. Hold on. Basket contains 1 smashed skull and a mallet, 4 hot chocolate bombs, milk chocolate, 6 peanut butter screwball whiskey bombs, and 6 milk chocolate covered pretzels and chocolate dipped Oreos.
There you go. So thank you, Stacy, for that. That is going to go. And again, we're doing a bingo. People are going to buy tickets. It's all going to the kids for the sensory room that we're doing. So, all right, on to business, Mr. Comstock. Chief Comstock, Attorney Comstock. What's going on with so we have a levy. Is it next week already?
Yeah.
Week
Week
2
from
weeks.
Tuesday.
Week from Tuesday, right? So
The 8th.
we'd share this with you. You want to bite of
You're
this?
good.
Would you like a bite?
Isaac, what is
Just don't mind our snacks.
All right. So what's going on? So we have a levy, and this is for Poland, the Poland area.
Yeah, Poland Village and Township.
Poland Village and Township, which is we also learned the one time it's also on the other side of Lowville, correct?
Correct.
We remember
Yeah,
that.
oh,
See,
man,
I
you
remember.
guys
I remember
It's
things.
doing better than you did in school.
I totally remember that. So what's going on? Why do we need a levy? Times are tough, sir. Times are tough.
It is. And so as you know, Poland's been a volunteer fire department almost 100 years.
Wow.
1923, department was formed. That was like major decision in Poland. Hey, let's form a bucket. You go from the bucket brigade to form an actual fire department. So that happened in 1923.
What's a bucket brigade?
Literally run to the wells, line up all the people with a bucket, dip the water in, pass the bucket
That was like
down.
legitimately a thing.
Yeah,
Could you imagine that?
yeah. It wasn't very effective.
Okay.
Throw the bucket and pass the empty bucket back down the line.
Neighbors like line up and wow. Okay.
So in 1923, they formed the Poland Village Fire Department.
Okay.
About 50 years later, they formed the fire district, which was the township was growing in size, a lot more people living out in the country. So rather than just having a village department, they formed a fire district and they built the 2 stations out in the township.
Okay.
So, that was 1984. So we go from 1923 to 1984, and we've responded as a fire district since that time, but we've been volunteer for almost 100 years.
Wow.
And we don't have anybody in stations. It's like when we get a call, you go from your house, you go from work, you go from the supermarket, wherever you are, you go to a station, we get the engines, we get the, whatever we need to do and respond to the call. So after I became chief a few years ago, we weren't running EMS calls. The year before I was a chief, which was,
When was that?
I hate to say this, but it was 1998.
Wow.
So
I was 4.
so
he almost called you something, but he knows he's being recorded.
the old line, I've got underwear older than he is.
Yeah, right.
So anyways, we had 178 calls the year before, and we said we recognized that they were waiting for ambulances at that time. So we said, well, we've got to do something. So we started doing EMS first response, which was we go to the station, we get a vehicle, and we run out. And if you needed CPR, you needed the bleeding stopped. That was great. We would take care of you until the ambulance got there, and the ambulance would take you to the hospital.
Where would the ambulance come from?
From Youngstown primarily.
Really?
There was a period
Oh,
there was a period of time when we had an ambulance in our station, but that kind of went away. And we've had ambulance companies change. We've gone from Gold Cross to Rural Metro to AMR, which is our current private provider. So whenever you dial 911 now, they say it's a medical emergency. What happened is we'd respond, and AMR would respond. We'd get there first. We'd take care of the emergency, and then AMR would show up a couple minutes later and take you to the hospital. That was great, worked fine. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, in April, we had 2 cardiac arrests in the same month, and there was nobody available
From
AMR, any ambulance companies. Lanes, there was just nobody available, and we're there waiting for an ambulance to finally get free. Well, we're doing CPR on the people.
How does that happen though? Just no one to me, that's like, how does that not happen?
There's a lot of reasons why we're short of ambulances, and we ought to talk about that not only for Poland but countywide.
Yeah.
I'll just
Sorry.
tell you. No, it's okay. So we decided at that point we needed to get an ambulance. So if that ever happened, we would have an ambulance that we could take the person to a hospital.
Right.
And we figured, we'll do this based on what we looked at probably once and twice a month. But that was a great insurance policy, right? We buy the ambulance and we take the people to the hospital if AMR is not available, and all is good. And we did that for a while. And then it got to the point it was once a day that we were taking people to the hospital. And because AMR had fewer cars available and weren't able to respond as much. And as time has gone on, the numbers for AMR have dropped in terms of their ability to respond. Everybody reads about in Youngstown, they don't have ambulances, they're waiting. Well, AMR is the primary provider in Youngstown, and they have a contract with Youngstown.
Wow.
And they're short. There's a lot of times they can't get an ambulance. So one of the things I gave you in the chart was this one that actually shows when things really started falling apart for us.
And while Luke pulls up that chart, there are 21 people in here right now. If you could, down below, give us a like or a heart or a smiley face, something helps get more people in here. Helps us out tremendously. So check out this chart.
There's the chart, and what you see is like in April, AMR transported. We had 104 people had to go to the hospital in April, and 62 of AMR transported 62 patients. And 37 patients were transported by Poland.
Okay.
And the third alarm is when Poland didn't have somebody available and AMR didn't have somebody available, we had to call Lowellville, Springfield, Lanes.
That's third alarm.
That's the third. That's the third service. And it could be, we've called Greenford, we've called Canfield.
To get somebody there.
To get somebody
crap.
there. All right.
Wow.
So you'll see percentage-wise. So the next month we have 90. AMR does 58. We do 29. There's a third service. But if you look at September, there's 65 runs. AMR does 7.
Why is it dropping off like that? That's crazy.
Because they don't have the staffing available.
Holy
so
cow.
we end up having to transport 48. I mean, if you look at the percentages of that, and there's no, countywide, statewide, nationally, it's everybody's having the same problem trying to get staffing for their services. So, I mean, and we put a real strain. We had trouble in August. I mean, people have vacations. They're out of town. They can't do things. So you can see we had 21 outside services respond in August, and it was tough. And the neighbors around us are saying, "You guys are starting to kill us because we're having to respond so much to Poland."
Yeah,
wow.
And
so we're pulling from other neighborhoods, basically.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And the numbers continue to get crazy. I will tell you, I printed off today. You guys don't have a copy of this, but this is our reports from today. We had 11. We've had 11 calls so far. Now the day's not over. Today. It started off. We had a EMS call at.
Don't say the address.
No, it's just I was looking for times. First one this morning was at 7:37. We had a motor vehicle accident at 8:52. We had a lift assist an invalid at 9:22. We had another EMS call at 10:16. We had to search for a lost person who had dementia at 11:05.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
We had an EMS call again at 12:17. At 12:18, we had a second call at the same time, and that's about 20% of the time. We have 2 calls at the same time or more. Then we had another EMS call at 12:41. We had another EMS call at 15:46. We had a EMS call at 16:33, and then we had an EMS call at 5:22 or 17:22 this evening. And we still got, 3 hours left in the day.
You'll get more.
We could. I mean, and you know what? Here's a great thing. Today, almost every one of those calls got covered. We had people around.
Yeah.
We covered almost 11 calls. People leaving, they're off work, they're at home, whatever. We got covered. But tomorrow we may have 10 calls, and I may have enough people to do half of them or a third of them.
Because your guys are volunteer.
They're volunteer. We don't have people in stations.
Yeah. Wow.
And the difference, the other thing that's a little scary, and I got asked this question, so I was a little, I wanted to know the answer. I didn't know the answer.
Yeah, Bob Dutton says, "Don't jinx us, Chief."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bob lives on North Hill, has been fabulous about helping out and covering. I mean, he's one of the go-to guys.
My boy knows how to clean a car too.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
He cleans a big car.
So we went through and we looked at our response times for the ambulance services, and the private companies, one of the things, there's no accountability. So I can't tell you what the response times are because they don't have to give them to us, right? And that was one of the reasons we started switching our dispatch centers because of the lack of accountability. So we used to use AMR, didn't cost us anything. We now pay Austintown Dispatch, but they're fabulous. So we wanted to try to figure out how much time it took to get people. So I looked at what's our shortest time, what's our longest time, what's our medium time. So our shortest time in July response was, I don't know if you have us, is 6 minutes.
I don't think I have that. Wait, do I have that one? That one? No, I don't have that one. Okay.
So it's 6 minutes. Our average time was 17 minutes. You get a little bit delayed by the time we go to a station and drive to your house. And our average time, our mean time was 15, but our longest response time, 51 minutes. Okay.
That's terrifying.
In August, our longest time was 42 minutes, and our longest time in September was 50 minutes. Now, if you look at the averages, like down here, like AMR, you'll see what we could figure out was 27 minutes. But Beaver, we called Beaver, was 26 minutes. Canfield, 25 minutes. Cass, 20 minutes. Lowville, 27 minutes.
What's Cass?
It's a private ambulance company.
Okay.
Because we're calling whoever we can.
Yeah.
And Springfield was 27. You look again down here, Green Township average response time was 48. Well, why is it so long for Green?
So freaking far, yeah.
No, well, far, but they're also calling everybody else first. So they'll call us, we're not available. Then they'll call Springfield, and if Springfield's great, okay, they may have maybe 10 minutes, but Springfield's not available. Then they call Lowville. They got to wait 3 or 4 minutes to see if anybody from Lowville is available. They're not. So then we're going to call.
Wow.
We're going to call Beaver Township. Beaver doesn't have anybody. So then we'll call Green. So by the time, it's like 3 minutes between every time you make a call. So when you get down to it's 48 minutes, that's just how long it's going to take the calls and the response
and
distance.
The thing you got to think about is it's like, okay, we're talking like 27 minutes, 15 minutes, 18 minutes, right? 20. We're not talking about like waiting for
pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah.
We're talking about
this is somebody having a heart attack on the ground.
An emergency situation of a loved one.
And I've been in that situation.
Yeah, Isaac had to rest.
I had to give a lady CPR.
And you had a problem.
She had a heart attack, and they took it because I called from my cell phone. It was right in between North Jackson and Warren, and they were like fighting over. They were fighting over who to send. And I was like, just send someone. There's a lady having a heart attack. On the ground. But they took like 20 to 25 minutes.
Was the longest 25 minutes of your life?
It was so long.
And we've made a lot of, by moving to Austintown, it's been a fabulous change. And our police departments are going to be in Austintown next month. They're going to move there from Boardman. So we're going to have, it's just unbelievable. That's been great. A good move for us. But that's the reality is, and we're not trying to sugarcoat things. We're telling people this is it. This is the reality. And to get to your point, our folks all have other jobs and they have families. And, there's times we have a lot of our folks, and, we talk about Bob. Bob's a great example. Yeah. Bob works in Youngstown. He has his shop. He's also a Canfield firefighter.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
Is he really? I didn't know he was Canfield.
And so Bob works in Canfield, and he's there, so many days a month working part-time.
Wow.
A lot of our folks work part-time in Brookfield or Liberty or Sharon.
Works for the ODNR.
Dan Wright?
Yeah, Dan. We had the remember the guy, the fishing guy.
Yeah.
Dan.
He worked for Lanes for a while.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of our folks who live in Poland, who, if they want to make money on side jobs, can't do it in Poland. They've got to go work someplace else.
So they're out of the town.
And they're providing fire and EMS services just to folks in Canfield or Liberty, not here.
Right.
And so, one of the advantages, there's so many advantages of us going to a staffing model for part-time where we would man 2 ambulances. One, we'd have fast response.
How fast do you think it would go from 27?
Shortest time, 6 minutes. That's not people coming from their house, right? So that when you see shortest time 6 minutes, here's one 4.5. That's coming. They're already on the station. They're doing something on the station.
So that's what I guess let's sum it up. So not sum it up, but the levy then is for what?
For putting people in the stations.
Full
paying
full
them.
time.
No. We'll have 24-hour service. And that's one of the things that I've heard people say, you're creating jobs, full-time employees. You're just trying to create jobs for yourselves. And we purposely, if you look at the levy language, it says part-time employees.
Okay.
because we don't want people to say, oh, it's full-time job and full-time benefits and you're getting all these perks.
It's not like that.
Because we won't have to pay health insurance. It's part-time. We're not going to have to pay health insurance.
Okay.
We're not going to have to pay benefits. We're not going to have to pay retirement. It's part-time. It's to give the folks who are, spending 6 hours or 12 hours in the station, some money that is, it's a part-time job.
Yeah, it's a part-time job. Right.
That they're there. But we're not trying to make it rich, but we're also saying, if you're going to spend their time and dedicate it, you should be compensated. And they would be if they were in Canfield, Liberty, Gerard,
right.
Sharon, wherever else.
Right.
And it's so much more than that too, though, because the amount of change that will result from a part-time employee being in there, the amount of response time, how much change do you think there'll be?
Well, like you said, 6 minutes, 4.5 minutes versus 17, 14.25.
So the question the people got to ask themselves, is it worth your family member is dying on the floor from a heart attack?
You're gonna want.
Do you want the ambulance there in 6 minutes, or do you want them there in 25 minutes?
What's the cost for like $100,000 house?
It's a 2.75 mil levy. Now, the total cost for that, and I'm going to give you the exact number,
I think I have
is that it's $96.25 per 100,000. So if you have
a month or a year?
Year.
Oh, well, what the
$96 a year.
Cheap asses better freaking pay for this.
So let's those of us who are lousy in math in school, I'm just going to say $100, right? Instead of $96.25. So $100 per 100,000.
Yeah.
So if you got a $200,000 house, it's $200 a year. You got a $300,000 house, it's $300 a year.
How are you not going to pay $300,000? Let's say you live in a $300,000 house. You're not going to pay $300 more a year to save somebody's freaking life.
Let's break that down.
Okay, so let me make it even better for you, right?
Yeah.
So right now, if AMR comes to your house, to your
how
house,
much does that cost?
$1,000, and your insurance pays $300,
You're going to pay $700.
you're paying $700 to AMR, right?
Ooh.
Or lanes or whoever else.
Ambulances in Poland, I heard it was like free. There's a free service.
It is if we deliver it.
Oh,
If
really?
you do it.
We saw bill our residents, but here's the deal: it's still a gamble right now because AMR is still our first call. So if the AMR is not available, the good news is
Chip. I need an ambulance. I'm at the poorhouse. I need an ambulance ride home.
that's fine. It's going to be 17 minutes to get there.
or it's Chip. I'm having a heart attack. Send the ambulance. Is it a Poland guy or is it the other people? No, Isaac, we have none available. Let me die. I don't want to pay it.
It's that's the thing is if so, and it gets even better. Let's suppose it's early in the year, all right, and you get that bill for $1,000, and your insurance company says, well, you haven't met your deductible.
Oh yeah, you're paying the whole damn thing then.
No, you're not.
No,
we write it off.
Oh really?
I just put $1,000 in your pocket that you didn't have to spend.
Wow. Yeah, because if you do the deductible normally, you're getting like I have the so it's just me on my because the kids are with Maggie.
Yeah.
So I have the high deductible thing. So it's a freaking crazy amount
so
of money.
it would not you pay this tax. It's like an insurance policy, right? You pay the $300 a year or $200 a year, and you actually have to go. It won't cost you any money.
What
then.
are you hearing from people around town fighting?
People are asking, I think, really good questions. They're asking, I got to ask, what are your response times? How often does that happen? How much is it going to cost me? They ask, where's all our money go, our levy money? And I was going to mention this too, when we talk about it. This is a 2.75 mil levy. We reduced when COVID hit, we had an 0.8 mil levy, and we let that expire. So we went from having 4.8 mils to 4 mils
during COVID.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. And so it's a 2.75 mil levy. The actual increase it's a net increase of 1.95 mils.
Okay.
So it's not, it says 2.75 mils, and that's hard for people to wrap their heads around. But okay, we let for the last 2 years, you've saved a little bit of money, and now we're asking for an increase back, at this valuation.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, so it's net increase. It's less than 2 mils, and our trustees try to keep that down as low as the low as they can. I wanted 3 mils. They're like, no, we don't. If we not need it, we'll go with 2.75. So that's what they've done.
So who? So how many? I guess if this is a tough question, but how many levies are there now, or how much millage now goes to the fire department. Oh, it's already on there.
If you look, if we pull that graph
Oh,
up,
there you
which
go.
is kind of interesting because, both our wives are teachers. And so I hate to show in different school systems, but it is, people want to know where's my money going?
Is it this one?
And so little education on in terms of when you see it's total voted millage and total current residential millage. And I always hear people say, my taxes keep going up each year. Well, if there's no votes to increase millage, like, again, if this passes, there will be some increase in the levies. But when there's growth in the township or any taxing district, the money you don't get any more money. When you pass a levy, whatever that money is all you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter as inflation, doesn't matter there's growth.
That's what you get. Yeah.
And so what happens is they reduce the millage when you have growth. And so you actually pay less. People are like, well, what do you mean I'm paying less? Because my taxes keep going up. Well, they might revalue your house, but usually they've passed some additional levy someplace. So if you look at Poland schools, they've actually voted 49 mills worth of millage, but the actual millage you're collecting is 36 because they've had growth. They've had more
Right.
commercial development. So it gets spread. You build 10 more houses. Everybody, they add those 10 houses in, and everybody pays.
So look at
money.
Lowville, 60 to 23.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, again, when you look at it, we're down, our actual effective millage is half of Poland Township. It's just a little bit more, and you're paying to the library.
Wow.
And in Mahoney County Career and Technical Center in Mill Creek Park.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn.
That's crazy.
So when people are looking, saying, "Oh, you guys are trying to, look how much money you're trying to collect." Well, yeah,
Wow.
we're collecting 3 mills now, and I want 2.75 for staffing.
Wow. I can't believe that drops like that. So the last is Struthers too. So they almost grew. How did Struthers grow? You'd think Struthers would be reducing anything, but
Well, again, it depends on how they do valuations, and again, the key is once you pass a dollar amount, the dollar amount stays the same. So again, if you increase the value of your house, right, which would normally generate more money, they decrease the millage.
because they're keeping the amount of
The same. It seems constant.
All right. Wow. Okay, that's crazy.
So that's what, when people say, oh, my taxes increase, they're only going to increase if you've passed some new levies.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
Wow. This is a good question. Does Canfield, Poland, and Struthers all use AMR?
No.
They all have their own.
So Canfield used to use lanes,
Okay.
and Canfield had the same situation we did. So they bought an ambulance as a backup.
Yeah.
And they found that they were having to respond more and more and more. So they got to the point where they actually decided that they were going to be the primary provider. They're up to 4 ambulances. They run all the time. They passed a levy in May of this year for 1.63 mills to add more ambulance folks to that. They have a lot more daytime population. They have a lot more calls than we do. So they need to have more ambulances. But I will say right now, in my mind, Canfield is the leading beacon in Mahoney County in terms of providing ambulance service. They're running
Really?
3 to 4 ambulances, 24/7 staffed, and they don't have problems with getting ambulances to a scene. And unfortunately, Canfield's probably come to Poland at least 5, maybe as many as 10 times for our residents because we couldn't get ambulances.
For Canfield to come all the way
Canfield
over
came here to
Think about
save
that.
us.
That's a
Go
haul.
down 224.
Down 224. That sucks.
They can go a little bit faster than we can go down 224.
Yeah, but that sucks,
Yeah.
though, man.
That does.
That sucks.
So, and I, there's a little bit of competition. The chief of Canfield's a great guy. And I owe you another beer. I owe you this because it's a little bit embarrassing, quite frankly, when we can't get people out to respond to calls in our own community, and they've got to come and take care of us. But I'm very thankful that they've done that. But they've been stretched so thin because they've done such a great job that they're responding to Ellsworth and that's where the issue from Boardman comes up because Boardman does not have any ambulances, and Boardman relied on lanes. Lanes, like AMR, has been short as staff. That's why they were originally providing services to Struthers and Camel. They couldn't get enough ambulance crews. It's not that they didn't want to. It's not that the people aren't talented or anything. They just didn't have enough staff to put that many ambulances in other communities.
Boardman doesn't have their own?
No.
That's great. Boardman has a huge population. Wow.
They've relied on lanes and
Holy cow, that's
so-
crazy.
Why wouldn't you get at that point get your own? Like
Well,
that's
And so this shows
Holy
this
crap.
graph, which I know is not direct, but it shows the number of ambulances owned by the community and those that owned by the private provider. So like Austintown has two fire-based ambulances and three publics. So, their ratio of ambulances is 7,000, one ambulance for every 7,000 people. And if you look at the graph, Berlin has 2,000, one per 2,000. Canfield's, one ambulance for every 4,000. Right now with Poland, we're running 4,700. We've bought 3 ambulances. Now, sometimes like 2 weeks ago, I was out in an ambulance in the morning transporting patient. We had all 3 of our ambulances transporting patients to a hospital. But if you look at
our ratio is not bad then.
It's not bad. I mean, we're still high. Some of these communities are smaller, but again, it shows that we're at 3 ambulances. We're probably right where we need to be.
Yeah.
We're only planning on staffing 2 of them.
I was going to. It's the staffing's the problem. You can have the trucks.
Yeah, we have the vehicles. We don't have the staffing. And again, so you look at Canfield 4,000, but again, where you hear a lot of a talk is in Boardman. Well, Boardman with their 2 private providers, they have 1 ambulance for almost 20,000 people.
Holy.
And Youngstown has one for AMR, 3 ambulances have one for 21,000 people. So that's where you tend to have the shortages. And then the other problem that comes up is you transport a patient to the hospital and the ERs are backed up because they don't have enough staff. So there was one period this summer where there were 13 ambulances waiting to get into the emergency room. And so those are 13 ambulances that are out of service. They're not available to respond. Yeah. So, we try to get our ambulances turned around. We hope that the ER works on it, but they can take out a service. So again, if we transported, like I said, 2 weekends ago on a Sunday morning, we had 3 patients, all 3 ambulances were transported. If we had had a 4th call, we would have had to rely on Lowville or, again, one of the other communities.
Am I right in my way of thinking that if we staff those 3 ambulances that we have by voting through the levy, then more people will get access to the free ambulance rides?
Yes.
And in turn almost save money because more Poland ambulances would be responding to you and you would have less opportunity to spend money on the other ones?
We do track that. So in 2021, when we were not the primary provider, we saved our residents $35,000.
Would we be
It'll probably save. Oh yeah, because for every time we bill, we're going to save residents money, and we'll make more money too. I mean, we should. Yeah. So people are like, how much do you expect to make? When I say make, I'm not talking about like we're making a profit. We're going to take the money that we bill, and it'll probably be somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000. We'll reinvest that money to buy new ambulances.
I was going to say, like you're like talking about saving money. The businessman in me's like, the Poland people save money, but let's say you go to Boardman and help Boardman. Do the Boardman people, you charge them? Boardman?
We charge them the full rate.
Yeah, nice. See, that's what I'm thinking.
But we're still losing money
in the gravy.
But see, that's a problem. That's what Canfield looked at and says, okay, we bill them for X dollars. We collect them, but then you got to chase them down for the balance, right? And if for a Medicaid or Medicare patient, you can't bill for the balance. So that's what problem in Youngstown. There's so many Medicare, Medicaid. So you're making $120 a trip off them. Oh, yeah. And they're looking, okay, we're putting our people over there. We're taking them out of a community. They're supposed to be in our community protecting us.
Boardman gets full price. Canfield gets double.
And then, okay. So he said, we still owe Canfield, but the deal is that if you're taking your people over to another community and you're putting wear and tear on your ambulances, right? You're spending your people, you're putting, the workers' comp, lifting people, risk. It's okay though. Like we don't mind doing it to Springfield because if I have 3 ambulances at the hospital, Springfield can come and cover us, right? But Springfield can cover us. Lowville can cover us. Struthers got an ambulance. We've had Struthers come now and help us out, right? So we don't mind going to them because we're all helping each other. The issue in Boardman and Youngstown is
they don't have any
ambulances to send us. So if I send ambulances to Boardman and I need an ambulance, they can't. And I've heard what they've said is, well, we have lanes and lanes will be our person we'll send to you and cover. Well, the reason we're going to Boardman in the first place is lanes doesn't have enough cars to cover Boardman because it's one for every 20,000.
Somebody asked up there, is Canfield not covering Boardman anymore?
They're not.
They just said we're done.
Wow. They said because they wanted to sit down and they've gone back and forth, but they said, we're losing money and we're taking our ambulances out of Canfield. Our residents are paying for those ambulances. They passed a tax levy to do that.
Yeah.
And why are we're not coming there unless we have some sort of financial arrangement that's going to help reimburse our costs. And they've not worked out a deal.
Wow.
Boardman, they sent them a letter. Now I will tell you this, we're different than Canfield in that Canfield has their ambulances manned all the time, right? So they're 24/7. They go over there. We don't have staffing. You've seen our response time. So we made the decision a year ago, in July of 2021. We sent Boardman and everybody else who did not have an ambulance. That includes New Middletown at that time, Struthers, Campbell, and Youngstown. We sent them a letter and said, don't call us unless it's a life-threatening emergency. We cannot spare our ambulances out of our community. We're not so cold that, if you need CPR, we're not going to come. But don't send us for the psych patient. Don't send us for the toe ache. Don't send us for the cut on the finger.
Right.
We're not coming for those calls. You figure out how you're getting those folks to a hospital.
Wow.
And it's because we're so low on our own staffing. We can't afford the risk of sending ambulances to Boardman unnecessarily.
What is Boardman's thinking again? They just don't. They'd rather just have a service, or why would they not put their own?
Have they tried to pass it?
No. And I think there's some concerns about whether either the businesses or residents are willing to pay for a tax, whether they want to increase the taxes. But there was a study in Boardman in 2019. There was an independent commission put together by the township that examined the status of EMS in the community. And the recommendation was to put one ambulance in each station to serve as a backup or to have, and
Never did it.
Never did it. So I'm not going to speak for the Boardman Township trustees.
I think it's almost like a free rider type thing.
Well, Canfield, I think Canfield's concern was that, Boardman doesn't have to put a levy on as long as Canfield keeps going over there.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
Right?
Free rider.
Right.
So, that's where I think Canfield was coming from when they made that decision. Our was not, so much the free ride. Ours was, we're already at risk in Poland. We can't afford to send an ambulance.
I'll tell you what,
out to a community when I may not be able to get a second ambulance.
Boardman, they're the bad member of the group project.
Isaac, Isaac, think about this. Something happens to dad or mom or my kids, right?
Yeah.
I call, okay? There's no ambulances available that I technically paid for with my tax dollars because it went to Boardman, right?
Yeah.
How pissed are you going to be as a tax-paying resident because, you know what I mean? And Boardman doesn't have it. How pissed are you going to be at Poland, right? And then you had to wait 30 minutes for something to come from Green Township.
Yeah.
Because,
that's a risk. That's exactly concerned.
I would be furious.
I've been asked that question when all this controversy started with Youngstown and Boardman and everywhere else. And they said, okay, if we pass this levy, this has been a common theme.
Yeah.
Is if we pass this levy, are you sending ambulances to Boardman?
Yeah, right.
And we said, until they're in a position that if I send an ambulance someplace else, you can send an ambulance to me.
Yeah.
We're not in a position to do that. Mutual aid is mutual aid. In other words, we both have to be able to reciprocate. And we have had times when we've had ambulances in Springfield and Lowville, and we're transporting patients. I remember when we had an auto accident and we had a medical call when we had two ambulances. So we've added a third recently, but both of our ambulances were out. We had another medical call, and it was so we had to call Springfield, and then our ambulance got back to town, and Springfield was transporting our patient, and Springfield got a call. Well, we took our ambulance and went to Springfield. And then there was another call in Poland, and Lowville came again. But that's how it works. We're all helping each other out.
Right.
And,
the Canfield's not picking up the slack. They're not doing enough. Or I'm sorry, not Canfield, Boardman.
Boardman.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're the bad member of the group project.
Right now, Canfield, and to give credit, Green has done a great job, and so is Beaver. They're all but they're also, those departments are to some extent doing staffing right now. They've got some staffing models. They're each is a little different, but they're doing a good job.
Peggy's got a question. How do we know this is going to work? You said you had levies that expired previously.
Yeah, we let them expire.
During
COVID, Peggy, they let them
so
expire.
we've done the calculations. It's sort of, so you figure out here's what our average wage should be.
Yeah.
And in fairness, our trustees have said if you want to attract good people, and that's one of the other things. There's departments out there that their wages, although their staffing are so low, people are like, why should I have to deal with blood and guts and stress and go through all the schooling when I can make more at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So we're not talking about paying $100, an hour, but we're also not talking about paying, $10.57 or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Minimum wage,
so we'd like to be a little bit on the upper end of what the area wages are, because we can attract good people. We know they're going to stay. We don't have to, keep training people, because of turnover. So we know our own folks are going to be able to handle most of it, but we expect we'll have some people from around
Is
the
that
area.
what's going on with the AMR? With AMR and stuff?
Yeah, because they cannot attract. Again, in Youngstown, let's look at that. They go out, and I think they say their average cost, per trip is $300. Their average revenue is $130. So they're losing money on the trips, and they can't afford to pay their staff a ton more.
Yeah.
If Youngstown, what I would expect if Youngstown subsidizes it, what they're going to look at is paying more to people.
Yeah.
They can put more ambulances on, and they can pay their more people to attract people into that service.
Wow. I had a question. So where'd this one go? This one. So Beaver Township, right? They have 3 ambulances for 6,000 population. I mean, that's high. Looking at this, that's high. Or Goshen, two ambulances for 3,000. How do they get or Lowville?
Look at Boardman. They have none in 20,000 people.
Yeah. So how do these smaller communities get?
But they're not staffing. Right, that's the number of units, but that doesn't mean that they're staffed because their call volume.
That's just the number of ambulances.
That's the number of ambulances. So for Lowville, for example, they don't have staffing at all, but their call numbers are lower. So their volunteers are more able to respond. But there's times again, Lowville, is in the same boat we are, is that they can't necessarily guarantee that they're going to get a response, particularly during the daytime when other people have jobs.
And that's why I'm saying if. Like Luke, with us, we have 3 units. If we just staff those units, we'll greatly increase our output, and then in turn save people money who live here because they'll be able to respond more Poland based.
The other thing is, keep in mind, we're talking about staffing 2 ambulances, 2 of the 3, because we're looking at the odds. We have about 20% of the time we have 2 ambulances at 2 calls at the same time. Much less do we have 3 calls at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to staff three ambulances for a situation may occur 1 to 2% of the time.
That makes
right?
sense.
Can we Uber out our ambulance to Boardman, our third one?
Don't have the staff. And there again, if I send that third staff, what we're going to end up doing for the third ambulance is we'll try to get our people just like we're doing now. We're volunteers, right? So we'll call them in. We'll call it. I mean, we'll have to pay them by the hour. Right now, we pay them per the call, but under federal regulations, once we go to the scheme, we're going to have to pay people hourly. Right now, they get a flat fee per call. We cannot do a mix and match under the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Yeah. Wow. Stacy, she's the one that made the things for us. The sipples and sweets. There it is.
Yay.
Good question, Stacy. Good question. How is everyone short-staffed? But yeah, you go down 224 and shopping centers and restaurants seem to be doing just fine occupancy-wise, especially on the weekends. It's so confusing. I don't understand staffing shortages when there doesn't seem to be spending shortages.
Well, it's what I was going to kid is instead of working the ambulances, everybody's working at the restaurants, right?
We can make more money.
Right. Especially if you're doing tips. And again, it requires a lot of schooling and people are like, it's not worth it until the wages come up. Right now, everybody's fighting for the same people. The long-term gain is you're going to have to pay more money so people are willing to enter the field. Because right now they're going to do something else. And here's the other problem. Our population is aging. Our call volume, showing you this stuff. We ran, as I said, last year, we ran 1,448 calls as a volunteer. I think we're going to be over 1,700 this year.
That's because Poland's getting older, correct?
Well, yeah. Yeah. And we're
your dreams are coming true. They're starting to
it's not my dreams. It's what is happening, whether they like it or not.
So as the population gets older, but here's the other thing about the school. What's the school population doing? It's dropping.
Yeah.
So where are our volunteers coming from in the future, right? I mean, that's one of the scary things is we're going to have more demands for the ambulance service and we're going to have fewer people to handle.
What's actually happening right now is you're taking all the old people away and the school population is actually increasing.
Did you know it raised last year?
You're having an inflow of people my age that are bringing kids to the community.
as you cart them in your ambulance.
As you cart the old people
Well,
away in
if-
your ambulance,
if-
and
if-
I up their
if-
house like candy.
Well, if you're looking at maybe what you guys should do is just try to cut out the ambulance altogether, right? Then you'll have lots of home openings.
Vote no, so we can kill some people.
Daddy needs a house.
That is terrible. Oh my god,
no-
that might be the worst thing we've ever
What?
said on this podcast.
If you see, well, it's. I mean, this is. I'm really crude with this because I've been trying to be very factual,
yeah,
and so our mottos. I got rejected. Our motto on our sign says vote yes for EMS. I thought we should just be blunt, say vote yes or die.
yeah. I mean, that's it too. You hate to say that, but you're right.
It's,
I mean,
there's no, in my opinion, there's no more critical levy anywhere than this, and that's and it's a gamble. And I'm gonna say something really crappy here, and I should not say, but that is, I worry every single night about not having an ambulance.
yeah.
I mean, I'm constantly looking. Are we getting the ambulance out? What are we doing? I mean, there's times I'm calling people saying, "Hey, I'm going to have to come here. Can we meet?" Or I'm, somebody who's dead tired, and I thought maybe they didn't hear the call. I'm calling them in the middle of the night trying to get an ambulance out. If this levy goes down, I'll sleep. I'm not going to lose sleep because people have made their choice. I mean, that's. I'm not. I'm trying to educate people.
Yeah.
I'm not threatening. I'm just saying that the issue is here are the facts. And they can make an educated choice. If people, for whatever reason, say, I'm not going to vote for levy, I'm going to respect that.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if we don't pass a levy, then, it is what it is and we'll make do.
Have you had them fail before? Levies?
Once.
Have you tried?
One time.
One time?
What year was that?
1999, 2000, somewhere in there. It's when we first put an EMS levy on. It's the first time we ever tried to do EMS.
Same thing? Or
it was just to do first response, right? That was back when I became chief, and we said we need to get an EMS vehicle. We need to get
so
some
this
supplies.
is just for a vehicle.
That was for vehicles and training,
Wow.
and to start doing that.
Yeah.
And people didn't understand it, and so we came back and we really tried to educate them. And the second time it passed, like in 2000, and our levies have passed ever since then. But I reckon, normally they're 1 mil levies.
Yeah.
Right. They're not a 2.75 mil levy, which is asking the voters for a lot more than we usually do. But it's also that critical. And so this is why I'm out here trying to educate and get this information out.
Being the marketing guys we are, what I'm going to tell you is I would use scare tactics to push it through.
Me too.
I would say I'd get some signs. Vote no if you want to risk the chance of dying while waiting for an ambulance.
It's a
Vote
long.
yes.
That's a lot of crap on
You
the
get
sign.
you'd get some crap from people for using scare tactics, but it is effective. It is effective.
I mean, my question is, so with those times, how many, what would be awesome to know is if you had an EMS here, could you have saved people's lives with those 26, 30, 40 minutes? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You couldn't know that.
Yeah,
but
there's no way of telling. And sometimes this is going to sound lousy too, but some of it is some of those longer response times. I'd love to, if I say, that person's having a heart attack, but some of it literally is, the person hasn't felt well for a week, and they want to go to a hospital. So, trying to get people to leave their work, or and so there may be people who have to go to hospital. Sometimes you can't tell. Okay, person has a headache. Are they having a stroke or are they having something else? I mean, it's if you say I have a cardiac arrest, it's more likely I'm going to get people than if you say I've got a really bad case of hemorrhoids. But people call for an ambulance. If you're having a medical problem, it's your problem. It's major to you. But some from our perspective, we try to get an ambulance for every single call, but some are more critical than others.
We had, it was a while ago now, but our grandmother, we were at a house. She was a realtor, loan officer, and we were at a meeting and she passed out. And I'm telling you, you guys were there like that. You know what I mean? Because I was there and she's sitting next to me and I just felt grandma go like this.
Yeah.
And I thought she died. I was like, oh, well, I'm messed up the rest of my life, right?
Yeah,
and
grandma just died.
She's passed out.
And again, if we have people in the station, I tell people your worst time to have a medical emergency, if anybody here wants to plan and listen, is between 7 and 9 in the morning, because people are coming and going to jobs.
Yeah.
Right. There's people who are still at work, working. We have a lot of guys who work, men and women who are full-time firefighters. They get off typically at 8. Thereabouts. So they're either going to their job at 8 or they're waiting to come home from 8. So 7 to 9, you're not going to get an ambulance. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you got a much better chance. And again, Tuesday nights when we have drill or trainings every Tuesday night, have a medical emergency on Tuesday night. What, 5 ambulances and 3
Tuesday night.
Yeah,
Try and plan the heart attack for Tuesday night.
You'll be great. You'll be great. But the other time it's and there's no predictability when we're going to have an ambulance. None. I mean, I'd love to tell you, I know the chances are a lot less in the morning, but after that, I have no idea.
Wow. Here's a good question. Tracy Kane says, do you think old people on fixed incomes, the ones who need the service the most, are going to vote against it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And it really, to me, is and I know they use it the most because we track by age group. It's amazing. The group of 80 to 90 is the number one population in terms of percentage and actual numbers. 90 to 100 is kind of up there, but guess what? There's not as many people at 90 to 100. And then the 70 to 80. And they make up probably, a huge percentage of our transports and our calls. And I understand they're fixed income, they're least number to need it. But, again, it comes back to, well, if they don't want to vote for it and we don't have EMS, they're the ones who are at the greatest risk. So that's where the people who really have to make the tough decisions are those folks who are on fixed income. I get it, versus knowing that they're the most likely ones to need it.
So if they're in a $200,000 house, right? It's $100.
It's $200 a year.
$200 a year
divided by 12. You're less than $20 a month.
$16 a month.
And then divide that by 30, just on average.
And how often?
55 cents.
What's that?
55 cents a day.
Yeah. So, let's cut back on the coffee.
And what are the chances of an 80-year-old person, or you said 70 to 80-year-old person? I wonder if we could find that statistic. How many times per year they're going to call an ambulance, or how often they're going to call an ambulance, or how much the risk increases as you get older past 70.
Well, again, I can just look at our numbers in terms of percentages of calls. I mean, I could tell you guys, here's the total number of calls versus the population. We'd have to sort of do the demographics and percentages, but I mean, you just look at the raw numbers and go, well, you can see who's needing us.
Yeah. So again, it's basically $100 a month.
No,
I'm sorry, I said there $100 for $100,000 house a year,
annually. Yes.
A year. Let's make sure I say that right. Annually for EMS service in Poland. I mean, that's it.
And in turn, that increases the chances that when you're an old person and you call that ambulance in, it's a Poland ambulance and you don't even have to pay for it.
Right. Yeah. It's a no.
Well, there are some folks, and this is, if you're on Medicare, Medicaid, typically you accept what they would pay. So for the older folks, they don't get that sort of deductible break that you would on your private insurance. So, and I've had people say, well, it's misleading because no matter what happens, I won't have to pay for it. That's true. You won't.
Well, screw you. The rest of us have to pay it, person, right?
Everybody's going to have to pay the property taxes, right? So everybody shares that equally. But again, it comes back to me as it's do you, who's the most at risk? That's the thing. Yeah, you don't have to. You get the free ride regardless. Like, well, I get a free ride. If I'm on Medicare, it doesn't matter. And I don't want to have to pay the property taxes. That's fine. That's your vote. I'm fine with that. But you're not
$100 a month. I said that wrong. It's $100 a year for $100,000 house. Thank you, Tracy. I don't want to freaking swamp your levy by saying that wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. So, yep.
$100 a year for $100,000 house.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to say that right.
$200 a year for a $200,000 house.
It's the same thing. It's the same damn thing as the schools and those old freaking people. You know that the school levies
don't look at it like an investment.
But here's the difference with the schools, right? Most of the older folks don't have kids going to the school. They're not likely to use the school service.
I'm gonna die. I don't give a shit about the future. That's the way of
voting
thinking.
on a school levy affects the value of their house.
But they're not. That's not. You got to look at the use of the money. And
I'm gonna die. I don't give a shit about the future. That's their way of thinking.
it's on, on the schools. I mean, that, again, it's a user thing on the schools. And the other thing is, from my perspective, it's always about paying it forward, right?
Yeah.
My kids were educated, folks paid for it. So I'm going to
Good
pay
attitude,
for it
Jim.
and try to generate or educate the next generation. But my kids right now, my kids are not in the school system. So, again, I pay for that levy. Yeah. It'll affect it's a positive thing for a community. It helps the community. It benefits everybody. But if you don't have kids in the schools, you have to do it sort of on the big picture, altruistic viewpoint. Okay. When you're dealing with EMS, you're going to be a user.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that you or your family or your neighbors or anything else like that are going to be. That's a good point, isn't that? Yeah, that's good. Is that not enough slack?
No, I'm good.
All right, we're
Plenty of slack around here.
all right. Yeah, we're trying to work on our studio still. So, does anybody else have any questions? I know we missed a bunch of comments, but we were really talking here. Let's see here. What else? Oh, there's Abby, Fire Marshal Abby. There's also relatively new nursing. Oh yeah, new nursing home. Yeah, we do have nursing homes too, right?
That's been a huge. That's been a huge.
That's a freaking frequent flyer.
We've had 2 or 3 calls there today. That increases our demand. And again, those folks live in Poland. They help by building those facilities. They help lower everybody else's tax payments because again, they're a new facility, and so it gets back to what we talked about originally. That when new facilities come in, everybody pays a little less. So those facilities do help us in terms of paying less property tax.
And
but they increase our service demands.
That makes sense. Steph, this is a very complex question, and I don't understand what she's asking. Is it possible to collaborate with the school district regarding a combined levy that would incorporate all these expenses? They have to be separate, right?
Yes. And law had on section 5705.19.
Here he goes.
5705.19 is the tax levy law and says this is what you can put a levy on the ballot for. It has to track the language. And there's a whole section just on school levies and emergency levies and bond issues. And then there's one for us for EMS and fire. There's one just for EMS. So you have to track that, and language has to be very specific. And what we did in our levy is we narrowed the language down from fire and EMS to talk about hiring part-time staff and to hire, and for the use of purchase ambulances and medical equipment.
Yeah.
So we want to be very clear to see what people, what they knew, what they were buying.
Are you going to enter into a contract with the nursing homes like privates do?
We typically don't because those places pay taxes. Those are residents of our community.
Yeah.
And we, the privates have no obligation to provide services to any place. But we do. I mean, we're not going to provide. And quite frankly, they've been reasonably decent to us. We try to have a good relationship. Again, it's it's just like we wouldn't contract with the schools or Giant Eagle or anybody else. I mean, they are a business in our community.
I guess you got to the people living there are residents too, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, they're
and by the way, they all vote.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They all vote. Right. But we should be walking around and they were flyers.
What makes you think that has?
Yeah, right. Knock out like 100 fly like at the nursing home.
Yeah.
Hey, remember?
Hey, you wanna not die? Here's to read this flyer about why you should vote.
Wow. Yeah. Look, Mark has a good point. It's crazy. Boardman has all the tax money coming in for businesses like the mall and all those businesses.
Free rider, man.
Yeah, they don't have any.
They're free riders. They're just taking advantage.
The issue that's been raised, and again, I'm not going to speak for trustees, but I'll just say it's out there. I mean, that's the trustees have to answer, and each of the trustees in their own communities, Canfield, Boardman, Austin, have to decide what's best for the community, and that's the decision they have to make. Townships, cities and townships get ARP funds, the CARES Act and ARP funds. Poland Fire District, because we're a fire district and not a township, not a city, not a county, we didn't get any. We've got not one dime for ARP funds. But that's one of the issues in Youngstown. They're saying, hey, you get all this ARP money and you're giving it to all the council members. How come you're not buying ambulances? Right? You want to do this, you want to do this, you want to
in your different wards and stuff like that.
Right. $2 million here, $2 million there. How many ambulances would that buy? You don't hear in Youngstown anybody talking about buying ambulances, even if of a backup, right? And in Boardman, that's been one of the things that I've read. People are like, okay, forget the tax money, forget this. You've got ARP funds. Why aren't you looking at trying to do ambulances? Now, I've been told, and I don't have any direct communication, that the trustees are looking at that. They have met with Canfield. They Joe Lanes, Lane EMS, has worked with the trustees, is trying to work with everybody to try to address these issues in terms of the shortages. But it will, the more ambulances, staffed ambulances we get into the system, the better. I mean, if Lanes could staff 6 ambulances in Boardman, they wouldn't have to call anybody, right? Same with AMR. If AMR had, lots of ambulances, and that would help all of us, because then
you could call them.
Yeah, we could call them and back and forth. But right now, part of it is and it is a national, it's a state, it is a local problem with the shortage of staff.
Wow. Can I ask you a law question?
Well, we needed to devote a substantial portion of his time to your legal issues.
I have one legal question. Sunshine law.
By the way, I did this because I could not I did not have enough room for all the law books I would have to bring in here. So I did this instead for each of you before I came here. I'm presenting each of you with this.
Yes, get out of jail free card. Brought us. Screw you, people. Yeah, we got to get out of jail free card. I'm gonna have this. You hear this, Lambert? You see that? You go to arrest me, Chief Lambert. Do you hear that?
That is so awesome, man. Somebody hang this up.
What's the chief at the?
Could you actually, in all fairness, I knew I was dealing with you guys.
Would you please sign this?
I knew that you guys.
Get on field charge.
I'm gonna need you.
I brought you 2 because I knew that one.
I'm gonna need you to sign at the bottom, please, sir.
Yeah.
Son.
There we go.
Son.
I'm sure.
My lawyer, the township chief. What's his name? Forget his name right now.
Greg Wilson.
Yeah, Chief Wilson. Isaac and I, we're coaching a basketball team. Okay, Isaac had these real tight shorts on the other day. We were coaching these freaking 6th graders. Chief Wilson walks into practice at Dobbins, and he's like, "Isaac, I'm placing you under arrest." And he's like, and Isaac's like, "Can you not do it in front of the kids?" And Chief Wilson's like, "No, it's because you're wearing those freaking shorts. It's criminal.
It's criminal to wear shorts that short."
So
Chief Wilson, Greg Wilson, and Don Lambert have been just wonderful to work with.
It's great.
Yeah. And they've been, when they both together were responsible for transferring the dispatch, which again, their 911 calls. Again, I'll just say this: 911 calls went to, all of them go to Boardman, and then if it's EMS or fire, it goes to Austintown. So we have 2 different dispatch centers, and there's a delay, right? We talked about the delay in ambulances. Now there's a delay because say, what's your emergency? Well, it's fire EMS. Okay, now we got to transfer it to Austintown. And Austintown has been really receptive to a lot of things we've tried to do.
Yeah.
Boardman from the fire side, it's been not as much. And so that's why we ended up going to Austintown. And when the 2 new chiefs came in, they kind of re-examined everything and made a decision, working with the township trustees, working with village council, that the whole community would be better off having everybody in the same center. So starting in November, if you dial 911, your call goes directly to Austintown. The police dispatcher, fire dispatcher sitting right next to each other. They can communicate. No information's lost. They're upgrading technology. Chief Wilson gave a report last night, I think it was, or night before, at the Boardman or at the Poland Township trustee meeting of all the things here. And like one of the examples that's going to be new for them is the dispatcher's going to be able to see right where the cruiser's located. So before, they'd put out a call, and that cruiser, who might be a call for the high school, would be up on the North Hill and have to drive. Now they'll see exactly where the cruiser is, and they'll get the closest cruiser there. I mean, that's kind of an upgrade in technology.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. So here's my question.
Okay,
and if you don't know, you got to look it up and tell us later.
Make it up like we always do.
Exactly. Streaming meetings for townships, villages, whatever.
Okay.
Can you record them and have them on YouTube?
So,
and if you don't know, you
no.
go,
So
I think they've already answered that question, though.
He never did.
Well, the answer, from my recollection, is that anybody has a right to record a public meeting as long as it doesn't interfere with the proceedings. So I'm
talking about the.
So if you wanted to walk in and you wanted to record the meeting, you could do it and place it on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So with a governmental entity, first of all, there's no requirement that they record a meeting at all. The only thing that's required under the, like you said, the Open Meetings Act is that the meetings are open. Under the Public Records Act, that all formed under Public Records Act, the meeting minutes have to accurately reflect the business that took place. Okay.
Boy, that's
If-
questionable.
But a public meeting, if it's recorded, that becomes a digital
Yeah.
copy of what took place,
Right.
and that's now subject to the Public Records Act. So that has to be available to the public, unless the notes or what's called the record retention schedule says, we save it for 30 days and then delete it because it's no longer needed because we use it just for the minutes. So you have to look at what the record retention schedule is. But if it is recorded and you said, I want a copy of the recording, it would have to be provided to you. If there's no requirement that they place that on YouTube.
I am trying to figure out why the village solicitor, so all the towns can't.
Remember what he said?
He said-
I'm only required to do the minimum.
Yeah.
Remember? And then the guy said, shouldn't we do more than the minimum?
they
I'm only required to
stream
do
it-
the minimum.
They stream it to YouTube and then they delete it. He doesn't want a record of it. And he said it was something about like,
It's something about closed captioning because it doesn't have the audio for
There are issues.
disabilities.
There are issues about whether or not, if somebody were to come in, whether you have to provide the closed captioning for that person.
but YouTube has all of that
Well,
stuff.
They say it's not accurate enough.
He does not, that solicitor, I don't know if you,
Well,
he
the-
does not want a
the-
record. I'm telling
well,
you, he
the-
does not want a record.
the issue becomes, again, you kind of balance out whatever legal requirements which are convenient for the deal. I mean, if somebody came in and said, I can't understand what it says, I mean, if they really wanted, I suppose you could provide them with a record of it. I mean, you could sit there
But
and do.
from face
but-
value, it's viewed as if you don't have a record of it, you can't quote what people are saying.
Well, again, that's the issue to my mind becomes, again, is it streamed live and not recorded? Because once you record something, it's a public record. You can't get rid of it. I mean, that
They
doesn't
do
matter
get
where
rid
it
of
is.
it. They stream
They
it live,
stream it.
and then we have taken it and saved it on Facebook.
That's what
but
we
they
need to start. We
refuse
need to start
save it.
remembering. You and I need to remember to do it.
Yeah.
And
But the problem is it boots up at different times. Like it's not right at 7:30. It's like sporadic.
it's when Tim remembers the turn.
Yeah, it's when the mayor remembers to hit the button.
Because if we stream record it, we could then play it back. Because I had somebody ask me the other day, they said they were going to watch it. And
Yeah.
they can't.
Yeah. Because it goes over
So
YouTube
there's
live, but
no
then they
government
get rid of
mandate
it.
that they have to record. And
No.
stream it. Yeah. See,
No, the only
Should-
record the only requirement is that the minutes of the meeting, are accurately reflect, the business that took place.
It should be in today's day and age. They should.
Because then you would have a recording of audio of what every single one of those officials is saying,
Yep.
and you could go piece by piece and break down exactly
I'm
what they're
telling
saying.
you,
And then if they go back on their word, you can say, "Oh, that's interesting."
Jay-
right here.
Jay does not want those recorded for that reason. I'm telling you. Ugh, I hate that guy. Okay. So, sorry. Yeah, in case I get arrested for walking out here by Jay.
No, I'm gonna hang one of these signed up on the. I'm gonna put it up on the
hang
wall.
all up in there. Someday when we get arrested.
Yeah, when Chuck Cobb walks in, look at the wall right there. There you go.
Well,
Take it.
I can't. However, I cannot use this for divorce proceedings. Did you know that? Because Chip has already said he is representing Maggie.
Yeah, I don't
Can
blame
you blame
him
me?
on that.
Right,
No,
yeah.
no, I can't blame him on that.
He said Maggie is Chip is on retainer.
If Luke says I screwed up or whatever it may be, I'd be like, yeah, I got to take Maggie's side, right? I got to
will
take.
be alone.
I got to be on Maggie's side on this.
All right. Well, Mr. Comstock, we appreciate you coming in.
Hey, thanks for the
we will,
opportunity.
I'm going to share this thing a couple different times tomorrow. We got to get the word out. What else are you doing to rally
One of the things that
people
we're trying to
votes?
do is again, it's more of an educational. We'll probably get some more signs out there, but I don't want people to vote on signs. I want them to vote on information.
Yeah, that's it.
So one of the big things we got to do between now and the election is we've got 3,000 plus of these flyers that we got to get out to the residents. We want
Yeah.
all of them to see, hey, this
Are
is
you
where our
mailing or
money's going
dropping
to.
them in.
Stuffing them.
I'll put them in mine. You want to give
So
me?
well, you can if you want, you can do your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Run up and I'll give you some.
I'll exercise. I'll do this. That'd be good. That'd be a good walk.
That's it, and I've done that. That's what I'll be doing in your old neighborhood this weekend. I'm going to be walking and putting them in.
I'll do mine. I'll do mine, and I'll do some of what's it called back there behind me.
I could do Massachusetts and Delaware.
Yeah. I can walk around.
See, that's a huge thing for us because again, we're trying just to get people out there. And in all fairness, when we do have residents who are saying to us, "Hey, I'd like to have a yard sign," and we had limited numbers because we had limited funds. I mean, we do not use taxpayer money to put those signs up, and we have to raise the fire association. We actually have a levy. We have a levy campaign committee. That's it's a private deal. It's not part of a fire district. They raise the funds. We had to get the signs in, and we wanted people to be aware first. Hey, there's a levy on, so we try to hit the main roads, and now we're gonna people saying, hey, can I have a levy sign? So we got to get some more, and then the other part is trying to get them. Hey, this is what the levy's for.
Yeah, I'll walk around this one, and I'll walk around wherever you want. That'd be good. A good exercise, absolutely. Right? Walk around and stuff mailboxes. That's good. So.
Luke, did you hang up that sign over there?
What's that? This Jimmy Trafficant.
Did you hang that up?
Yeah.
Why do you do this to me?
Dude, look at it.
It's not centered.
It's totally centered.
That is not centered.
Is that centered?
So it's
left.
It is centered on the P sign.
It's centered on the P sign.
It's centered on the P sign, but not between the flag and window. So you're both off.
It's centered on the P sign. It's 100% on the P
sign. Why'd you hang it up? You just did it.
I did it.
We had everything professionally hung in here, and then you go and you throw that up on my wall.
Shirilla and throw that up there.
I'm gonna call Shirilla and have him fix it.
All right, we're out of here.
And then try and convince Shirilla to vote yes on this thing, even though he's gonna complain about it.
Good luck with that. All right, everybody.
So, thanks for everybody listening.
Thanks for coming, Chief. All right, so Saturday we have our Halloween party. If you didn't buy tickets too late, you're not coming because we're not selling them at the door.
Stephanie says the chi is off because you hung it. It's off now, Steph. I can feel it. Like it's throwing off the chi in the room. I can feel it.
I didn't nail it. It's just a little pin, so you can.
Oh, that's easy enough.
Okay, take it off of there. Cool. We have no guests next week. I have not scheduled anything, so we'll have to figure somebody out.
We'll get it.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Vote yes on the levy so you don't die and your grandma doesn't die. There you go. That's
scare tactics, man.
Yeah,
scare tactics.
That's gonna be anything. Vote yes so your grandma doesn't die.
Yeah. Do you want to wait for an ambulance for 5 minutes, or do you want to wait for 25 minutes when your grandma's having a heart attack? Yep, because there's a bunch of old people in Poland.
Go, you can vote no. Then your grandma's going to die. I hope you
vote yes, or the MLO Bros will buy your house when you die.
Goodbye, everybody. You should have let us run your marketing campaign.
Oh, God. or potentially an MLO brother will buy your house.
We will finance your house when you're dead for those people moving in. Hey, good night, everybody. Sleep good.
Hey, by the way, we are loan officers, so feel free to call us if you need financing on your next home, your next mortgage, whether it be a refinance, home purchase. Give us a call. Your grandma dies and you need to buy her house. Because of the long ambulance wait times. Give us a call. We'll take care of you. My NMLS number is 1949316. Luke, what's yours?
562-548.
And you can find our cell phone numbers on our personal pages, but my cell is 330-921-8978. If you just want to call me there, we'll take care of you.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
And thank you to our other sponsors, too. Go ahead, Luke.
I'm hitting the thing.
Okay.
Watch my back and the smoke your ass. And when I come jack, that's why some pigs